Beals here with no nonsense, cause you can't make sense if you don't make sense. A pod with freestyle discussion, poetry and social deconstruction.
Thank you, you're welcome, and welcome to the No Nonsense Podcast on November the 26th. Episode 26. We're going to do a little something different here, and we're going to start off with a poem, as we always do. The world was changed and destroyed overnight. They tried to instill fear and fright. He was their leader, so strong and proud. His voice was so encouraging, boisterous and loud. He wore the skin of his enemies like fur. The Führer, the devil, Adolf Hitler. We're going to take this pod and do our very first ever historical biography. The first thing that people think in their heads when they think of Adolf Hitler is an evil man who was bent on destroying the world and controlling the world. Now, is this a misguided viewpoint that is has held as a begrudgment by the winners of the World War II? Or are these allocations true, Big Burn? What do you think?
I personally think he's been allocated to the wrong balance sheet. And he needs to get his assets properly balanced, otherwise his business is going to run into the ground.
Did his accountant keep in mind that he had both assets and debts?
Well, the thing is that he was letting his balance sheets run amok, and the thing is, they got to be even, Beals. And he should have hired a different accountant, and that was probably the downfall of the Third Reich.
So do you think if Lenin would have actually partnered up with Hitler, since obviously historically speaking Lenin was a fabulous accountant and his sheets were balanced to the full amount, that Hitler probably would have seen more success on the western and eastern fronts?
I don't know if partnering with Lenin would have worked. I think partnering with Jeremy Lin would have worked.
And what do you think Lin would have to offer? It's kind of an interesting viewpoint there.
Yeah, he'd be able to offer you any bags of leaves you could find in Omaha, Nebraska. And, we might see a different world that we do see here today there, Bill. And, I think if Hitler is still around, we might see a more domination of Godfather's Pizza in the aggregate economy.
We do know that he was a fantastic fan. Now, do you think of the leaves that he could have laid down on the ground to cover over the snow that would make it easier to transport up to Russia and would have destroyed Russia, and therefore having absolute and total world dominance?
I could see this having been a thing that could have happened. And, I think some revisionists, history majors like to think of it that way. They're rather scandalous and abhorrent in their beliefs, but they're not going to be able to get through this political system without any flair underneath their solar cap. So we can't really live in the coulda, woulda, shoulda. Hitler lost, and we're here today, there, Bill.
Yeah, but there's an interesting viewpoint that people are starting to point out that he might have cryogenically frozen himself and shot himself off into outer space, into orbit of Mars, wherein in the year 48, the orbit of Mars will coincide with Earth and bring his little ship back to Earth. Now, is this something that has some implications for the coming future generations?
Yeah, he might be taking over Mars, and maybe he's got a long-term plan where he's going to be shooting us with a rocket. And, he made this rocket himself with the technology of that era, so it should be foolproof. I really see no problem. And in fact, I heard that he is... He might be cryogenically frozen inside that Mars.
I've also heard that he did not keep his toilet very clean. I hear that there's skid marks all around it.
That's from the panel.
Yeah,
the panel has a GoPro on his ass.
This just in, a news break!
Breaking news. Weathermen are now leaving their jobs to become fertilizer planters. You can name your price, and any former weatherman in this country will fertilize your plants or your lawnmower at a moment's notice. Hurry and take advantage of the offer now before they change their minds.
We do think that Hitler actually may have had some homosexual and homicidal tendencies occurring at the same instant. Is there any one instant that stands out to you that really was a prime example of this?
Do I think there's any validity to these claims? Absolutely. In fact, I think that he might have been the first homosexual on Earth. No, not true there, Beals. I'm just kidding with you. But he did help further the movement.
Would you say that he helped further his bowel movements to enjoy the gay rights movement?
I'd say that he was an equally strong proponent for bowel movements and the gay rights movement and the feminist movement.
Well spoken. Well, Burn, we're going to end this short podcast with a wonderful poem whipped up by yours truly, Burn.
Mr. Hitler, Adolf, why'd you have to be so mean? Why couldn't you just go and froth? Did your parents treat you bad, you little hag? So just tell us what your gender is. Are you a him or a his? There's no recourse for a man of such evil. That's why I'm coming out, trying to deceive these people. So Hitler, give it up, you dingus. You lost the war. But if you're on Mars and you're trying to hit us with a rocket, then you are a sore loser.
Thank you. No nonsense. Signing off.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Hope you got some insight and a few laughs. That's all for now, folks. Yes, goodbye. Till next time, as long as we don't die.